Different cameras.
Yeah, they have some issues with one on all the regular cameras. Yeah, so the regular cameras aren't working.
Oh, no.
So speak clearly.
No,
Smile a lot.
The audio's still good.
Oh.
Into the microphone.
Okay, folks, it's 7 p.m. Mayor Baines, in Mayor Baines' absence, I will be acting mayor this evening, and we'll call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is, Karen, could you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Husnick,
Here.
Councilmember Byström,
Here.
Councilmember Valento. Here. Councilmember Munson. And Mayor Bain.
Thank you. If able, please stand and for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we need an approval for the agenda. Is everybody okay with the agenda tonight?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Karen, do we have anyone for the open forum?
I don't. Kim Carlson is the finance accounting manager is on, but nobody else.
Okay. We'll move on then. Next, item number 6 is the consent agenda. We have items 6A through 6E.
I move approval of the consent agenda items 6A through E.
I'll second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 7A, Birchwood Estates preliminary plat and PUD. Nathan, are you going to help us through that one?
I am, yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is a request. This request is in front of the City Council after review of the Planning Commission most recently. It's a request for a preliminary plat and PUD for Birchwood Estates. This project is a residential development. It's approximately 40 acres large. It is east of Highway 61 and south of the high school, just for a general location. The zoning district for this parcel is MXR1, which is the mixed residential single family and townhouse district. That aligns with the future land use designation, which is low to medium density residential. So to summarize very briefly, this development is 74 single family residential units. Those units are comprised of a mix of different lot sizes. They're all detached homes. There are 53 single-family detached, more or less traditional lots, and there are 21 detached townhome units. Those detached townhomes are in an area that's HOA managed and maintained. So this development has a net acreage of 34.42 acres. That leads to a density of units per acre of 2.15 units per acre. The proposed land use and density are generally consistent with the comprehensive plan and its goals for this area. There is a table that's provided to you in the staff report that summarizes the deviations that are requested under the PUD. Generally speaking, there are 3 separate single-family traditional lots that are proposed in terms of width. They're 65-foot wide, 70-foot wide, and 80-foot wide. The 80-foot wide lots don't require any deviations other than those 4 corner lots, which would go from 25 as the standard to 20 feet. The 70 and 65-foot wide lots do require a few deviations in order to meet the city's requirements. And then the proposed detached townhomes also have associated with them a few deviation requests, and those are all under the planned unit development request. In terms of parkland dedication, 3.44 acres is what would be required as for this development. proposed in this plan is 1.45 acres, which leads a requirement left over of just under 2 acres. So the applicant is proposing to split a combination of parkland dedication and cash in lieu, which is provided for in the zoning code, or in the subdivision ordinance rather. And so an estimate for that cash in lieu would be just over $76,000. All right, so public benefit that has been proposed with this development. There is a pretty significant amount of woodland preservation that is occurring on this site. There are notable trail connections to surrounding residential areas, including leading up to the park that's proposed in the development. And I'm going to share on my screen here. In a moment, you should see on the screen in front of you an image of this is the PUD plan that was submitted with the development. So you can see here on the southern portion of this development where the cursor is moving, this is the location of those detached townhomes. The rest of the single family units will be located on the remainder of the development. The parkland that's proposed by the developer is in the northeast corner here. And this will be contiguous with future parkland in developments that come in surrounding this one. So eventually, a larger park would be the result of that. And that would be a park that's accessed by all of the surrounding and future, current and future residents. Okay, so in terms of woodland preservation, I noted that there would be a lot of woodland preserved, and that is located sort of in and around this wetland area in the back of a lot of the residential lots. There are a number of trees on site, but many of them are deemed to be exempt under the city's ordinance, so the developer is not proposing to remove more trees than they are permitted to do. Landscaping with this development, since it is all residential, would be reviewed at the time of building permit issuance and is not reviewed or has not been reviewed as part of this process. No signage is proposed. In terms of staging this development, the first part of the development that will be completed is the south part. That'll be 204th Street on the map you see in front of you. And then the second phase of this development would include the northern portion. So a neighborhood meeting was held on the 10th of February. We didn't have many in attendance, but generally the questions that were asked were all answered by the developer. A public hearing was held at the Planning Commission's last meeting on February 23rd. We didn't really receive many new comments on the development at all at that time. All right, and an engineering memo is included in the staff report. The developer has actually already addressed some of those comments, not all of them. The watershed has had an opportunity to review and provide comment, but we haven't received anything. The Planning Commission found that the development did not meet any of the criteria for denial. It also found that it was generally in line with the review criteria for planned unit developments. Next steps for this project would be a final PUD and final plat, submittal. And then just to reiterate, Planning Commission did review this on February 23rd and found that it did meet those criteria that are required for approval. They unanimously voted to approve this after the discussion that followed the public hearing. So in front of you tonight is a request for a determination. There would be 2 motions required. Staff are proposing 5 conditions of approval. 1 through 4 of those conditions that are in your report are fairly standard. 5 is just basically laying out the requirements for landscaping at the time of building permit issuance. So with that, I would just remind you that with the 3 of the 5 council members in attendance, a unanimous vote would be required.
Yeah.
So that's all I have, and I'd stand for questions.
far as the trees are concerned there, Nathan, that westerly part of that's kind of open field there, wasn't it? The trees. were-
Yeah, there's not as many trees on site, and currently, and most of those trees are located kind of surrounding this wetland area.
Okay,
And
sure.
many of them will be preserved because they'll be in the rear yards of these lots.
Council members, I'm sorry.
No, I'm ready to make a motion, if
Sure.
we're ready for one. Acting Mayor Husnick. I make a motion to approve the preliminary planned unit development for Birchwood Estates with conditions 1 through 5 as identified by staff.
And I will second that motion. Any further comment? All in favor of the motion to approve?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve the, Kathy, did you do the preliminary plat or the PUD?
PUD.
I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Birchwood Estates with conditions 1 through 5 identified by staff.
I'll second it.
Any further comments? All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we're on our way, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay, agenda item 7B, resolution 031422-02 and 2022-23. It's for the 2022-2023 lift station and force main improvements project award. Ryan, are you going to talk about that a little bit?
Yep. Council members, in your packet is the bid results and award recommendation for the 2022-23 lift station force main improvements. Low bid with alternate 1, Minger Construction Company Incorporated at the amount of $3,978,710. Project is being financed by the $1.7 million state bonding bill grants and the Sewer Enterprise Fund grants. By resolution within, it's our recommendation to award the project to Minger Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $3,978,710. $3,978,710. Big numbers.
I move adoption of resolution number 03-14-22-02 as outlined by city engineer Ryan Goodman.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and that's for the resolution 0314-22-02, right?
Yes.
Okay.
2022-2023 lift station and force main improvements project award.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Motion carries. Agenda item 7C, resolution for the water treatment plant number 4 project award. And Ryan, you're up again.
Council members, this is the bid results and award recommendation for the construction of water treatment plant number 4. This was opened a while ago, so we've talked about this project a number of times. This project will be financed by the Water Enterprise Fund, low bid Municipal Builders Incorporated in the amount of $8,479,757.00. It's our recommendation to award per the resolution attached to Municipal Builders Incorporated in the amount of $8,479,757.
I move adoption of resolutions 03-14-22-03 water treatment plant number 4 project award as outlined by engineer Ryan Goodman.
Second. We have a motion and a second on this proposal, and all in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. Seven D, the resolution for the North Shore Circle Street and Utility Improvements Project Award, and Ryan, you're up again.
Council members, bid results and award recommendation for North Shore Circle Street Utility Improvements. A low bid was Meyer Contracting Incorporated, including alternate one. So base bid plus alternate in the amount of $2,778,778.16. This project includes replacement of sanitary sewer main line and the removal of 2 lift stations with the construction of a new relocated lift station to serve the area instead of having 2 that were constructed in the 60s. This project will be funded from Fund 211 and the sewer fund, and it's our recommendation to award the contract to Meyer Contracting Incorporated, including the base bid plus alternate in the amount of $2,778,778.16 with the resolution attached.
I move adoption of Resolution 03-14-22-04, the North Shore Circle Street and Utility Improvements Project Award as outlined by City Engineer Ryan Goodman.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
And that motion carries. And the regular agenda, 7E, the 2022 Public Engineering Standards. And Ryan, you're up again.
Council members, this is pretty much an annual agenda item we have. Basically, as things have changed or as new projects come up and reveal things we need to either address or change, or sometimes MnDOT just simply changes the construction material numbering and sequencing. So tonight within here in the engineering standards, we've added the fee schedules that are outlined in your fee schedule related to the stormwater, water, and sewer fees. We've added some information related to lighting, obviously with all the developments we have to standardize that, and then also with some of the potential cooperative agreement projects, by having that information in there, we make those basically state aid eligible, even though they're a decorative light. Some of the stormwater stuff has been updated to reflect some of the Atlas 14 requirements. And then our standard detail plates, there's an outline of what exactly was updated on each of those. And it just ranges from very minor things. No real additional costs added to any projects that these are related to. It's just, clean up each stuff that we see and deal with each year. So there's no questions related to this. It would be a recommendation for the City Council to formally adopt the 2022 Public Works Engineering Standards.
Ryan, just a curiosity question. Is this a document we kind of push out, or is it just on the website for?
We post it on the website right away. So people that are looking to do development within the community, they obviously find that too. If they forget that stuff in some of their submittals, we already, here you need to add standard detail plate, so-and-so, so they don't spend the time and create something that's not a city standard. For instance, fire hydrant stuff, right? We're very specific on the size of the nozzles, so that way they're all, work with our fire trucks, our hoses and stuff like that. So that's kind of what's in this stuff. And then the design stuff that's required through the permitting, if it's related to stormwater, that'll go through the permit process too. But it's just basically a cheat sheet for a developer to use. They incorporate these standards or know how to lay out a subdivision, site improvements, stuff like that.
Thank you.
I don't think the numbers, I think you just mentioned that the fees really haven't gone overboard or anything with these changes. I mean, there was lots of things to look at here, and so a lot of it is stuff that's been around for a long, long time too.
These are the same fees that are outlined in your fee schedule that we
Yeah.
review annually.
Sure.
Sometimes maybe you've done it twice
I
a
just
year,
want to make
but-
sure that everybody understands that, it's when we don't have any questions later on, so. Any further questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022 Public Works and Engineering Standards.
And I'll second. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7F, the City Center and Senior Center Conference Room Use Policy. Karen, this is your,
Thank you, Councilmember Husnick. The city center and the senior center have had a room use policy for our conference rooms, more actually for the city center. I don't think that the senior center was ever incorporated into that room use policy in the past. So when the pandemic came, of course, we weren't using any of the rooms. This was an opportunity to take a look at what we were doing with these rooms, what the use was, any fees that we were charging for them. And also too, we kind of had some storage going on at both locations that we needed to eliminate from private parties. So the big differences in the room use policy would be noting the room capacities. And what's accounted for now is the regular capacity of the room and social distancing capacity in the event that we have to go back to full social distancing. If we have to close, we have to close. But at least this accounts now for that social distancing spacing for both locations. It cites on the application page, which is the 4th page, what the rooms are. So for example, the community room upstairs or the Forest Lake conference room downstairs here. And over at the senior center, they have an upstairs multipurpose room, a downstairs multipurpose room. So it provides all of the rooms listed, which we didn't have really listed on the policy before, shows what the capacity for each of those rooms is. Also, part of the policy on page 3 discusses personal property, which was not included in the previous policy, noting that there's no temporary or permanent storage of personal belongings on either location. Page 2, and I see I have a little typo, so ignore that. But on page 2, item number 5, it discusses kitchen use at the senior center, which was not included in the policy before, clarifying kitchen use at the senior center, not at the city center. And then also equipment in terms of audio visual equipment that wasn't clarified on the previous policy, excuse me. And noting that the city has some capabilities of AV, but that we do not provide the actual audio visual equipment for recording and things like that. That would be the customer or the person renting the space. That would be up to them if they wanted to record their business meeting or whatever they're utilizing the space for. The city does not provide that as a service. Page 1 goes back to on one of the bullet points, private party use. Anyone who is private party would be directed to use the senior center. City center would be more for business use, and those organizations that would include nonprofit community groups, Forest Lake area schools, and government agencies are exempt from fees. And then that brings me to the fees. There's an update on the fees. So typically what we were charging before was $30 an hour. My understanding is that the fees have not been updated since the policy was implemented here at the city center. And so there's an increase of $20 per hour with a minimum, and there's always been a minimum, but with a minimum of 3 hours. And just taking a look at those fees, that's really, really low for these types of room uses. So that's the updates on it. I can answer any questions if you have any. But, you know, we need to get something in place and get all of our rooms opened up to the public. Right now, we've just been utilizing them for the city or city-involved business meetings. I've had a lot of calls, and so we want to try to get those all opened up to the public now at this time.
Karen, I just, I have a little bit of a concern about the flat fee.
Mhm.
I'm, you know, when I reviewed some other city websites, they had like a two-tiered fee structure in
Okay.
a lot of cases. Lindstrom, Hugo, Wyoming, Stillwater, Lino had no fee for residents, but it was a resident and non-resident fee structure that a lot of them had.
Yeah,
And I would really like to see that here. I know Parks, Trails and Lakes Commission are kind of moving toward a similar model, resident, non-resident kind of fee structure.
okay.
I don't know how quickly you are hoping to turn this around, you know, for approval, but if we can really examine that maybe and bring it back, that would be my wish, I guess.
Do you have any idea in mind? So are you thinking resident, no fee?
Well,
Or some fee,
not
or-
necessarily. I'm just suggesting maybe we need to do a little compare and contrast,
Okay,
you know, with other cities specifically around similar spaces. But I think a non-resident resident structure,
okay,
oh, that feels a little better to me.
okay. I'll take a look and see what I can find. Also, I wanted to point out too, where I said the private parties will be moved more towards the senior center. We also have another option, and Mara had asked me to take a look and see our contract said with the YMCA. And she said, you know, we should be able to utilize the space over there. We have this big contract with them, and we in fact do. What it states in the contract, and this apparently is from the time that it was implemented, when construction was completed. I don't have the specific date on that, but when construction was completed at the YMCA, what it stated is that for the next 30 years after completed construction, YMCA shall make the following shared use spaces available at the facility as set forth. And so discusses the gymnasium, gives specific hours, but particular to like room use for events and that type of thing. They have a multi-purpose area over there with kitchen. City and its residents may use the multi-purpose and kitchen space free of charge for programs that do not compete with the YMCA programs. And then it also gives specific hours and a maximum number of hours per week for that type of use. So that is another option that we have outside of the city center and the Forest Lake Senior Center is the YMCA, and we can refer people in that direction as well. And that would be free of charge for residents.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
So-
that's the big thing, it's about for residents. So I would agree with you, Kathy, on that. It really, the multi-fee thing is not uncommon, certainly, and I think it's probably appropriate.
Yeah.
Do we get much call from folks that aren't resident or?
You know, I don't typically ask where they're from, so I don't know. And the use space here has not really been for private parties like birthdays, celebrations, you know, things like that, graduations, stuff like that. We haven't used this space here for that. So maybe if we open up the senior center more to that and it's known, that space will get utilized for those types of events. So, yeah, but I can take a look at resident, non-resident fee structures and see what that would look like.
Little research there would be great.
Yeah.
You know, got residents already paying taxes. Let's, you know, try to give them a little bit of a break here and there where we can, you know, and particularly in that facility use. or that
Councilmember
rental
Valento, do you
side.
have any comment or thought about that at all, or?
I agree with you. I think that's a great idea. Seeing a comparison would be fantastic.
So in terms of where we're at with the $30 per hour, because that's what it's always been for anybody outside of nonprofit organizations and outside of the hours here at the city center, which is 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. So that typically has been a free use of the space because the thought process on that is that the building is open. We're open. If the space is available, you can utilize it. We've kind of run into some issues with that. And, you know, so we want to try to put a cap on that and make sure that the use is appropriate, that there's not an advantage being taken on that. But as far as the $30 per hour, does that sound like where you want to start? Or would you like to see that fee increased and then a next step for non-resident?
I guess I'd like to do a little deeper dive into kind of comparable cities, what are they doing resident-wise? And they might be a little bit all over the board, but I think that'll at least give us a starting point.
Okay.
I mean, I know there are costs associated with just turning on the heat and lights or air conditioning or whatever, and I don't expect that we aren't going to pass something along to kind of absorb some of,
Yeah.
not have to absorb all of those costs as a city.
Yeah.
But I want it to be fair and reasonable and comparable, with other communities.
Okay, I'll do a little more digging on that, and then I'll bring something back. I don't think we're in a big rush to get this done, so I'll try to get something back by the next council meeting, for you to take a look at again, and maybe just put it on the discussion section. That way, if it's not, for your appetite, we can get more feedback, and then, maybe a meeting or two from now, we'll be able to take a vote on it.
Sounds great.
Okay,
Sounds to me as something you want to table and then until the next
Yeah.
meeting.
okay, sounds good, thank you.
Not take action on this tonight.
Then we should probably have a motion to do so, and I'd make a motion that we table 7F, the City Center Senior Center Conference Room Use Policy until the next meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Patrick, you're up with 7G, the new hire, administrative assistant. 1.
Yes, as you all know, we had some vacancies within the office starting last fall, late fall, I should say. When we obtained those vacancies, we restructured the job descriptions to make all administrative assistants, and we had up to date filled 2 of those positions. One basically payroll and other assorted financial stuff, and the second is utility billing. And now we're requesting that we hire the 3rd and final position, which will get us back up to full staff and clerical staff. And I'm recommending to the council that we approve the hiring of Jamie Thury for the position of administrative assistant at level grade 5, step 1, which is $27.45 an hour. And Jamie, I believe, sitting in the back room,
Back
just to
there.
say hello.
Jamie, would you like to say anything, or?
Just
I
give us a
know.
wave.
I know. You're just ready to go to work? Okay. We appreciate your application and time be taking. So.
I move approval of the hiring of Jamie Thury for the position of administrative assistant level grade 5, step 1.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion to hire Jamie?
Aye.
Aye. And the motion carries.
Welcome.
Okay, item number 8, we have a time for discussion. And Patrick, is there anything you would need to,
Not at
Discuss
this
it.
moment. We don't have anything for discussion.
okay? How about you, Dan? Anything that you want to put into the discussion slot here? Okay,
Not at this time.
well, you okay with just updates, Brian, or do you have a discussion thing that you want to cover? Okay. Okay, we're going to start with staff updates, and so what we'll do then is we'll start with Ryan and go from there.
Council members, I just brought this up in the EDA, and I want you guys aware of it too, that Washington County is issuing a request for proposals for a visioning and jurisdictional transfer study for Trunk Highway 61 in the cities of Hugo and Forest Lake. The components will extend of the Trunk Highway 61 through Washington County in the 2 cities. The geographic scope for the visioning components of the study are in the extents of the city of Hugo only, and the jurisdictional transfer through the Forest Lake portion, which would kind of align with you guys' Trunk Highway 61 and Aesthetics Water Quality Plan that you guys believe you formally adopted back in 2010. The Washington County's put in a budget of $200,000 for this project, and the city of Hugo's contributing $50,000 towards it, so a total project budget of $250,000. Right now, it's currently out for solicitation. With upon receiving the proposals, review, award is potentially scheduled for May 10th, 2022 at the county board. Schedule after that, obviously, I don't know at this point in time until that consultant's on board. But what this means to the city of Forest Lake is obviously if the road is jurisdictionally transferred, which means it would go from a state of Minnesota roadway to a Washington County roadway. Some of the design standards or flexibility would be easier to work with on some of our projects that we have outlined in some of our comp plans, the downtown plan, the Trunk Highway 61 and water quality plan. So that's what the exciting thing about that is, and obviously our partnership with Washington County and how well we've worked on some other projects together. So kind of what that does mean if it ever does shake out sometimes there's a sum of money transferred, you know, obviously from the state to the county, because they're ultimately taking over the road authority from the state and will own and maintain forever. So some of those improvements that might be needed now, safety improvements, pedestrian improvements, could be constructed earlier than later, you know, obviously with some of that money going into that transfer to construct that stuff earlier. But it's just a great way to set up that next step. That's been something that's been talked about in our comp plans for a very long time. And Commissioner Miron was here earlier tonight and actually expanded on some of this stuff too. Councilmember Husnick was able to hear that, but so a very proactive, you know, development, another tool potentially coming down Highway 61. So I just wanted you guys aware of that. Obviously we're very early in that game. That will be a very long process and a lot of public engagement. Also just kind of update you guys on the JD4 petition that has been approved at the public hearing. That will go to a watershed board this week to approve the agreements. There were no public people showed up to the public hearing and showed no support, you know, so nothing negative was received it was approved, and that again is related to the Hidden Creek subdivision preliminary plat you guys have already approved. Their next steps would be moving into final plat, and this was a key component to the stormwater and portion of that project. So with that, I'll just open up if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions for Ryan?
So Ryan, can you clarify this Highway 61? I mean, is this the stretch between Hugo and Forest Lake?
Yep.
Okay, so then
So it
what,
would go to the north border of Forest Lake because of the jurisdictional transfer.
so then does it shift back to does it stay with the state, north and south of?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. That's part of what the plan will talk about and discuss. There is a diagram in there that kind of showed the area that was going to be the visionary area through Hugo, as they got a lot of development that's occurring along the 61 corridor right now that's presenting a lot of challenges. Obviously, we've had a plan. We're working on a more precise plan for the downtown area, but some of our roadblocks have been, you know, the components that go along with the state highway, and now if it were to move to the road authority of Washington County, that could provide us some flexibility in the future. So
Your general thought is this is a good, kind of a positive thing?
oh, big
for
time
this area,
positive.
For this stretch?
Should be.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
go, okay,
And Fran was real positive about it too when he was
Yeah.
here, so.
okay,
it was- Yep, absolutely.
all right, good.
Okay,
That's,
well,
that's what I thought I was hearing, but just wanted to
Okay,
confirm.
we'll move on to Patrick, please.
Yeah, just two items. Continuing with filling vacancies, we plan to interview community development director candidates on Thursday and Friday of this week. Hopefully, we will choose one of the four candidates that we are interviewing. So we're hopeful there. And the other thing, as you know, since we've been having all this transition internally, since Donovan, our last planner, left, we have needed to have our zoning code meet the comprehensive plan for 2040. And we are almost ready to start presenting some of those properties to both the Plan Commission and the council. So in the next few weeks, you'll see rezoning requests so that we have those parcels meet what the 2040 plan is.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Any questions? Peter, do you have anything for us tonight?
Council members, I have nothing for you this evening.
Thank you. Nathan, do you want to, anything else?
A few more development reviews probably coming your way. Other than that, I can take any questions.
Any questions for Nathan?
Keeping you on your toes, aren't we?
Every day.
Happy to have.
Yeah, I know.
Very happy to have
Very
him.
happy.
I offered him an office of his own, but. And Dan, do you have anything for us tonight?
I do have a couple of quick updates. Downtown planning, I'll reach out to the planner this week and get the next steps for that and get the meeting dates out for the next review of the downtown plan. And just so council's aware, there is going to be another public outreach as part of that planning process as the plan directives move into what I like to call executables. There'll be a public outreach as part of that before it goes for final approval. So one more round of community engagement is slated for the downtown planning process. And just to give council a heads up that there will be a request for some joint workshops coming up with the EDA. We started talking about updating our business subsidy policy, has not been updated in 10 years. So we'll start that process, and that'll be joint workshops between EDA and council, just so that work is going to be coming forward here in the near future. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Thanks, Dan. Any questions?
So this next phase is really when we kind of start attaching some numbers to,
The downtown plan? Yeah, you'll start to put together the, like the projects and then put a budget together. So we'll start to see the CIP develop as part of this next process. He wanted to that was the time where there's going to be a lot of information, numbers, sort of direction for the downtown plan will come out of this next phase.
Thanks. Any more questions? Okay, we'll move on to Karen. Do you have any updates for us tonight?
Thank you, Councilmember Husnick. I just wanted to update council really quick on the elections. We did get through the redistricting process so far. So I haven't heard back from Washington County. I submitted the map and the changes, and they haven't contacted me back. So fingers crossed, I did good on the map.
News is good
and-
news.
Yeah, I'm a GIS pro now. But so that sounds good. As more updates come and in terms of elections, I will let you know. I do know that the, lost it. July, if you're running, think about July for those seats that are open. And then the other thing I was going to comment on was the Board of Appeals meeting is on April 11th. So keep that in mind. It's at 5:30. It will be upstairs in the community room. I sent out earlier today a big email that had a report and a spreadsheet, just a lot of extra information for you and reading enjoyment if you're interested in that kind of thing. It's a lot, but it's really, really good information. I learned a lot from it. I didn't really know a lot about the Board of Appeals, and so I had commented in the email, we'll learn together on that. I can answer any questions if you have them. I'll do my best. But that meeting will be on April 11th at 5:30 upstairs in the community room.
Thank you, Karen. Any questions for Karen? Okay. All right, I guess we've talked to staff, so council updates. Councilmember Byström.
no updates from me. I just wanted to take a moment, though, to acknowledge the passing of Ron Schaefer. As we all know, he was a consistent participant here, and I say participant because he always had some feedback for us. But I really valued his presence and the consistency with which he attended meetings and, and made his voice heard. He, I think, really held our feet to the fire and expected accountability among his city officials. And I know sometimes he felt a little gruff and rough around the edges, but I know he was a very kind man and cared deeply for the city that he called home. And I'm just gonna miss seeing him in the front row. So,
I agree. Thanks, Kathy. Councilmember Valento.
So last week I attended the Watershed District and they noted the legislation regarding the city's stormwater management and flood control. They would like to hear more communication on the project, but they really like where it's headed. And they also complimented the city management. So that was something positive to hear. And then I saw in the newspaper, I was part of the Rush Line Corridor. And since it transitioned to the Met Council, it's now called the Purple. And last week, White Bear Lake City Council voted 3-2 to pass a resolution that opposes the Purple Line. Though city consent is not required for the project, they're still gonna take that into consideration and we'll see what happens.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? No? All right, I attended the EDA meeting tonight, and of course Ryan touched on part of it with Washington County along with Fran Muron, and Dan touched the other part that was the important part, and that's the business subsidy policy that we're going to be working on with the joint discussions. And then we did have one applicant for the commercial incentive program to help folks out with, that $5,000 thing, that we, and it went to the Coffee Smith at 432 North Shore Drive. So that was, and we were happy to do it. So that recommendation is going to be to the council. So other than that, that's all I have. And that's the last item on our agenda tonight. So I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor to adjourn? Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.